This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. For the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, and our growing family of broadcast affiliates right across Canada, the United States, the Caribbean, Central America, South America, the Pacific Rim, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour, the first hour of tonight's show, is Karen Noé. And Karen is a psychic medium and author. She is the author of The Rainbow Follows the Storm, How to Obtain Inner Peace by Connecting with Angels and Deceased Loved Ones, as well as Through the Eyes of Another, A Medium's Guide to Creating Heaven and Earth by Encountering Your Life Review Now. She is also featured in Healing with the Angels, Angels Visions, and Earth Angels by Doreen Fortune. Now, Karen is the founder of the Angel Quest Center in Ramsey, New Jersey, where she teaches classes, gives readings, and practices alternative healing. The website, www.karennoe.com. That's KarenNoe.com. And Karen Noé, welcome back to the X-Zone. How have you been since you and I last chatted?
Oh, great. How are you, Rob?
I am just doing fan-diddly-tastic. Thank you very much for asking. You're one busy lady.
Oh, I really am, yes, but it's wonderful.
So how do you find time for Karen?
You know something? That's a very good question. My latest book, Through the Eyes of Another, it's a long story, and I'll tell you about it this hour, but what I have found is I'm trying to see through other people's eyes and trying to make peace in their lives, but you know who I always put last? Myself.
Oh, geez.
And I'm working on that.
Well, we're glad to hear that. Tell me, how did you get started when did you realize that you were a gifted psychic medium?
Well, about 15 years ago, I was going through a rough time in my life, and although I had messages when I was growing up, I had dreams that came true before they did, and my father used to take me to the racetrack, and I picked the winning horses. But about 15 years ago, I was going through a rough time. I was sitting at the edge of my bed, and I asked God and the angels if I was going to be okay. Little did I know my whole life was going to change after that. Right after I asked that, I actually saw a light coming towards me from the other side of the room, and my first reaction was of fear, and I said, if you're not of God, please leave. But the more I said that, the more it came towards me, and an overwhelming sense of peace came over me. And at that time, I did hear an audible voice that said, Lucia Lucina, Bella Lucia Lucina. And for those of you who are Italian, it means light, little light, beautiful little light. And right after that point, I started feeling and sensing and getting messages from angels and people who've crossed over.
Karen, your story is fantastic. I can't wait till we come back from this commercial break in 2 minutes. Exo Nation, Karen Noé is my special guest. She is a psychic medium and author. Her website, www.karennoe.com. That's KarenNoe.com. Karen Noé and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X Zone Broadcast Network. While walking along Kaanapali Beach in Maui this past year, I kept discovering all these shells and coral in the shape of hearts. My dialogue with Divinity was very simple. Do you want me to do a retreat to heal people's hearts in Maui next year? And of course, the answer was yes. As a master spiritual teacher, I am offering you a neat retreat called Rise, May 8th through the 12th, 2017, and the chance of a lifetime to rest at a 5-star resort for 5 days and experience a spiritual renewal of your heart and soul. Kaanapali is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. This stunning resort has undergone a $40 million renovation. I walked the entire property, checked out the room choices on your behalf, and I must say it is stunning. Our conference room faces the ocean with sliding glass doors. Maui is known as Mother Maui because it is a soft, gentle, healing energy. In the embrace of Mother Maui, you will feel yourself rising from the limitations of an ordinary life to an extraordinary journey of peace, bliss, and harmony. A greater sense of clarity. Our Rise Retreat ignites renewal in the sacred elements of air, water, earth, fire, and wind. There's plenty of free time to enjoy all that Maui has to offer. A small deposit is required now to reserve your space, as this retreat, it will sell out. For more details, please go to johannacarroll.com and register today. Aloha, and I'll see you in mystical Maui.
Exo Nation, Karen Noé is my special guest to this hour, www.karennoe.com. And Karen, you were telling us how you discovered you had been gifted just by sitting on the side of your bed and asking for God and the angels for help. You saw this bright light coming towards you, and you challenged the bright light to see if it was of a dark side or of an angel of God, and it kept on coming closer and closer and closer, and bang, here you are today.
Yes.
What was it like the first time that you had ever heard the voice of an angel or from a spirit from the other side?
Was that the first time?
Yes. What was it like the first time?
Oh, well, at first I was frightened, but it was so overwhelmingly peaceful, it changed my whole life. I just started crying, and I can't even put that into words because I have felt peace since then, but that was the most incredible peace I've ever felt in my whole life. And since then, I get messages from those who've crossed over as well as the angels, but they do feel differently, the messages from angels and people who've crossed over. Angels just feel like complete love and peace, total caring. And those who've crossed, they feel like the person that they were when they were here. They have a personality. If they were funny, they crack jokes, things like that. So,
tell me, Karen, with your experience with talking to those who have passed over, what happens when we die?
What happens is very incredible. First of all, we're one with God, one with everything. We're able to see the bigger picture. Now, we're able to see how we have affected each person that we have encountered in our lives.
Wow.
So, so we're not judged by God. We actually are able to see how we've affected people through our own eyes. So we kind of judge ourselves. And a lot of times when I receive messages, a lot of times they come through and they said, I should have, I could have done this, I should have done that. And then they feel it's too late. And that's as well as the living loved ones who come in my office say they should have, they could have, they would have, and then they feel it's too late. So that's why I wrote this book, why do we have to wait? We shouldn't have to wait. We can make our lives better now. Try to see the other person's point of view. Try to see through their eyes how we are affecting them. Too often we see how they're affecting us, and we put the blame, and we have to try to say, okay, let me reverse this. Let me see how I'm affecting them. And that's when true peace comes, in relationships, in the world.
Is it ever too late?
It's never too late. You mean even after we cross?
Yes.
It's never too late. Absolutely not. Because actually they're in total peace. After we cross, we're in total peace. And when they make that connection, they're trying to come and tell their loved ones how much they love them, and it's absolutely never too late.
You talk about us going through a life review after we cross over, Karen. What is the life review?
The life review is, again, as I just stated before, we're able to look back in our lives and see each moment, each person that we've encountered. It's called a panoramic life review, how we have affected them. Say we didn't spend enough time with our grandma.
All right.
Well, you could actually see how that hurt her. Not that you're suffering your whole eternity, seeing how much you caused your grandma pain, but you're able to feel it as if it's your own for a brief period of time, and you say, I should have spent more time with my grandma, that type of thing. It's a totally peaceful thing, though, but it's a great awareness. It's actually seeing as if we're seeing through God's eyes.
In your book, Karen, you state that you often receive messages from deceased loved ones who have gone through their life review realizing that they should have or could have, but once they're on the other side, Karen, how do they rectify their past for those who are still on this side?
There's a couple of ways. Sometimes they like to come in dreams. They like to give us signs to let us know they're around. They try to come through medium like myself, but the best part is if they come directly to the person, then they don't need a medium. A lot of times we're receiving messages from our loved ones all the time, but we're not aware that they're around. We have to just open up our eyes and see the types of messages that we are getting all the time, such as they love to come as birds, ladybugs, butterflies, and I know everybody would say, but every butterfly or bird in the sky. No, it wouldn't be that. It would be something that, like, say, a butterfly lands on you, or a bird pecks at your window, something unusual. In other words, they'll find us. We won't have to find them. They'll find us, and they'll let us know they're trying to communicate love and peace.
I understand that there are different types of letters that we can write that will help heal the wounds, so to speak. And I was wondering if you could share them with us.
Sure. One way of trying to see through the other person's point of view would be to sit down and say, okay, how am I affecting that person? And there's 4 types of letters. There's a letter of gratitude. There's a letter when forgiving someone else, or when you want to forgive someone to forgive you. There's a letter to your deceased loved ones, and there's also a letter to yourself. And, of course, they're all different ways of writing each of these letters, and it just depends on how your relationship was or is to the other person. So, for example, I had recently gone through a divorce, and, when we're going through something in our lives, we're so wrapped up in ourselves, and we're not really seeing how we're affecting our loved ones. Now, I tried my whole life to see the other person's point of view, so this isn't something new in my life. But then, I went through this traumatic thing in my life as well as my children's life, and I sat down and I wrote each of my children, as well as my ex-husband, a letter saying, I'm so very sorry that, for example, my ex-husband, nobody was right or wrong. It was just that we were totally different.
You grew apart.
We grew apart.
Yeah.
And no blame. I extend the love to him, and this creates not only peace in my life, but in his lives and the children's lives, to see there's no war here. There's just peace and understanding.
Yeah.
And it just makes a world of difference. The best part was at one point my daughter was very hurt. She's okay now, but that's not the best part. But the best part is that after I had written a letter to her, I thought, everything was good and everything. My children started treating me differently. They started talking to me more about different things. My daughter, she, it was a birthday, and she said, she'd like to take me out for my birthday along with my other children. I said that would be great. When we got back to my house, she plopped the DVD into the DVD player, And she started exactly what I had been talking about in the letters, trying to see through each person's eyes. Well, she got my mother. She had all my children, my future daughter-in-law, and even my animals talking.
Wow.
I'll tell you about that. And how much I have made in their lives. It was the most incredible thing. I mean, she took this to a different level. And I keep watching this DVD time and time again whenever I'm down. It just brings me up just to see how much I'm loved. Sometimes we're not aware of that. Sometimes unless you're told how much you're loved, you don't know it, So it really makes a difference, and it really made a difference in their lives and in my life as well.
You mentioned she also had the animals talking. How'd she do that?
What she did was she took each one of my animals, and I have many, and she wrote a little script underneath. For example, my one dog, Oreo, who has since crossed, but she said, you don't pay... The other animals don't pay attention to me, but you do, or something to that effect. And she put little subtitles under that. And what's so wonderful about that is now, she's crossed, and I'm able to see my dog in this video. Since this time, also, my mom has crossed over.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, but the best part is that she talks about on this video how much she loves and the good moments that we had throughout our lives, and it was just the most incredible gift that I could have ever had from my daughter and from my mom.
As a psychic medium, are you able to communicate with your mom on the other side?
Oh, I have so many stories. If you have a couple of hours to tell, I have had so many stories, absolutely.
So why don't you share us with one right now? We've got about 2 minutes before we go to commercial.
Yeah. Right before she had died, which was right around Christmas time last year, she said she was so sorry. We had 7 people in the room. She was at home in hospice with the hospital bed.
Right.
And she said she's so sorry she wasn't able to give us a Christmas present. So I said, Mom, please, it really doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. She goes, no. I really need to do something. And then she says to me, do you have $7? I said, well, I have $7, sure. So I took out 7 singles, and she took the singles and she gave one. Here's one for you, one for you, one for you to the 7 people in the room. And then she looked at me directly in my eye and she said, don't worry, Karen, I'm going to give it back to you. I said, Mom, really it's not necessary.
Right.
She goes, no, I'm going to give it back to you. So a couple of weeks after she had passed, I come into my office and there's a dollar bill on the floor in my office. And I said, oh, that's funny. Somebody, dropped the dollar bill, put it in my pocket. Went into the waiting room. There's another dollar bill. And I thought this was getting strange now, so I said, well, somebody's really, losing their money. Then I went into the other part of my office where nobody goes except me, another dollar. Then I heard my mom loud and clear saying, see, Karen, I told you I'd pay you back. An overwhelming sense of peace came over me. It was the most incredible feeling. And getting a lot of those, too.
It's the most incredible story from a most incredible lady. Karen Noé is our special guest this hour, X-Zone Nation. Her website is www.karennoe. That's Karen Noé, www.karennoe.com. She is a psychic medium and author. She's the author of The Rainbow Follows the Storm, How to Obtain Inner Peace by Connecting with Angels and Deceased Ones, as well as Through the Eyes of Another, a medium's guide to creating heaven on earth by encountering your life review now. We're going to be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news, talking to Karen Noé. Not only is she a psychic, she's a medium as well as an author. Once again, her website, www.karennoe.com. And Karen Noé and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X-Zone continues. Where? Right here from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell, and February 17, 18, 19, I will be the Master of Ceremonies at the Body, Soul, Spirit Expo in Toronto at the International Centre on Airport Road. For more information, visit www.bodysoulspiritexpo.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Karen Noé is my special guest this hour. She's a psychic medium and author. Her website is www.karennoe.com. And Karen, you know, we hear all these different stories about angelic intervention and how angels seem to appear out of nowhere. The stories about the cherubs, the stories about the guardian angels, and then of course it seems that angel stories come out of the woodwork at Christmas time. Is there any one time where angels are busier than another?
Well, it seems that way around Christmas time. Mm-hmm. I think that's because more people are paying attention to them. And I think when there's chaos in the world or something like that, they're more present to show us that there is peace in the world, and that's what we should focus on instead of the other.
Right.
And things like that. Yeah.
What is the most amazing thing that has happened to you since you've taken on your role of helping people through angels?
Well, there are so very many, and I can't even begin to, let me give one example.
Sure.
I love to help people.
Yes.
You know, and at one of my classes, there was some woman who never came to see me. You know, it's hard to get an appointment because I'm booked a couple of years ahead of time and, you know, not taking any new people, but they could come to my classes. Mm-hmm. And sometimes during the classes, I'm able to receive messages for people. And I was up, you know, teaching the class on how to communicate with angels and deceased loved ones. And yes, we all can do it. It's not just me. That's very important, too. But as I was explaining this, someone's father came through, mm-hmm. and he said his name. I can't remember. I think his name was Tom. And the woman raised her hand. She said she had just lost her father. I never met her before. And she said, please, I'm looking for some money. We're going to sell our house. My dad hid some money in the house, and I cannot find it. And she said, we just searched the whole house. And he just showed me, like, very, you know, he said, it's in the attic, in the corner behind the insulation. She said, no, we looked everywhere. I said, he's telling me this is where it is. You know, I could be wrong, but that's what he's showing me. As soon as she went home, she called me right away. She found a substantial amount of money. And this really helped her because her dad was, you know, needed her to know this, and she was very happy about that as well. But like this type of thing, I also help police with missing people and things like that. You know, it's very rewarding. I can't get messages every single time. Mm-hmm. I want people to know that. If they're here, they're here. I'm able to interpret what they're saying. And that's very important, too. It's not, angels can come on demand. Angels. We just need to call them, and they can be in more than one place at one time. We all have our guardian angels. Now, our loved ones actually do things on the other side, you know.
Such
and
as?
They learn, and they do, you know, certain things, and they're with their loved ones. And sometimes when they, you know, you want them on demand, I was even very surprised. I thought my mother would be with me 24 hours each day, but she's not. But when she's here, I'm able to interpret what she's saying. So that's very important to know, too. So for those who are listening, they're saying, if they're saying they really need to hear from their loved ones and they don't feel them and they don't know what's going on, I'm going to tell them to please be patient. Please tell them to come to them in a dream, but to wake them up after the dream is over so that you remember it without a doubt. You know, if you don't wake up after a dream like that, you won't remember it. Ask them to give them without a doubt signs so that they know without a doubt that the sign is from their loved one. For example, I had, I like to use my mom as an example. I always was in a position of giving messages for everybody else, but now here I am, the grieving person, and I need to hear from my mom, you know? And I said to her one day, I said, I just need to hear your audible voice. I know I keep getting telepathic messages, but I need to hear your audible voice. I had to come out and say this. I said it, and I almost yelled at her. Yeah, I yelled at her. And then a couple of days later, I was home from work. I was actually taking a nap. And my mom came to me. It was not a dream. It was without a doubt her. And she came over the loudspeaker. I was in a crowded place, and I heard her voice over the loudspeaker, and she said, I have an important announcement. I have an important announcement. I am okay, and I love you. With that, someone called me up on the phone, woke me up, and I remembered the dream, and it wasn't a dream. It felt like I won the lottery.
Wow.
Yes, the reason why I'm sharing this is please be patient, ask your loved ones to come, and they will. They want you to know they're okay as much as you want to know that they are okay. Absolutely. And to look for those signs around.
How do you teach someone to communicate with angels?
The first and most important thing is to meditate, to quiet your thoughts, because most of the time our angels and our loved ones come as telepathic thoughts that come into our heads. Most people do not realize that. It's actually easier for a medium like myself to get messages for someone I don't know. The reason being is when a thought comes into my head telepathically, I know it's not my frame of reference, such as where the hidden money is, or, boxing kangaroos and all sorts of crazy things that come through. I know it's not my frame of reference, and when I say it, it means something. If we're trying to connect with our own deceased loved ones or angels, we know so much about them. Like, I know everything there is to know about my mom. Or so I think I do. And so when she comes through, how do I tell the difference between my thought and a message? Mm-hmm. So what I would tell them to do is to backtrack the thought the next time they think about their loved one or an angel and see if there's an originating thought. Like, in other words, did you see a picture of them that triggered a thought, If there's an originating thought, that's you. If something literally pops in your head out of the blue, just pops in your head, something they would say or do, something like that, chances are that's a message. For example, I keep hearing my mom say, hi, sweetheart. Now, most people wouldn't realize that's a message. They'd say, oh, that's wishful thinking. But since I do messages for everybody else and I know everything else makes sense, I know this is truly my mom. Most people need to realize they come as thoughts. Now, if you know that they come as thoughts in your head and you're thinking too much, and your thoughts are going a mile a minute, you need to quiet your thoughts in order to receive messages. You need to meditate, quiet time, even if it's 5-10 minutes a day, just to empty your thoughts to connect to all there is. I think that's the most important way to learn how to connect.
How do you just channel one specific spirit or angel at a time? Because wouldn't it... The fact that you're a medium, doesn't that open up the door for other communication at the same time? What kind of filter do you use?
Well, my intention is are you trying to ask if it's just a good positive angel?
No. I'm just asking, for example, if you're walking through, let's say, a shopping center that is filled with people, and there are many spirits and angels around, how do you focus?
First of all, when I have learned to shut everything off when I'm in a crowded place or if I'm in a shopping mall, and there's certain energy exercises I teach my students to do to protect yourself, but it just could be totally overwhelming. So now I just say, unless it's an emergency, it's the intention. In other words, if it's an emergency, absolutely you come through, or else I'd be receiving messages all day long. It started when I first started getting messages after the Lucha Lucina light experience. It just came too often. I'd be at home and I'd open my eyes, I'm trying to go to sleep, and I see someone's mother in the doorway. So I had to say right then and there, no. When the intention is there, I'd love to talk to you, but other than that, unless it's an emergency, I'm sorry, but at the right time, I have to do that,
Has there ever been a time when you've received a message from the other side that it hit you, Karen Noé, in such a way that you just can't forget it?
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. There have been so many. A lot of times they come through, I'm sure it'll come to me when I'm not thinking, but right now sometimes people come through and they say they have all their legs. they have both their legs when they had amputated. They were
heavens.
amputated, or things like that. I have a lot of funny stories.
Well, let's share them with us. Share a couple
Okay,
with
like
us.
for example, when I first started getting messages, and I didn't know whether or not to give the messages because I didn't want them to think I was not in my right mind.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got them and I said them, it always meant something. For example, in the beginning, they always say their name for the most part, or letters of their name, but most of the time they say their name. I believe his name was Robert. And he showed me a kangaroo with boxing gloves on. And I said to him, it's all telepathically, she's going to think I'm crazy. I'm not going to say that. And he just kept showing me the kangaroo with the boxing gloves on. So I said, oh, my God. I said, okay, somebody here is named Robert. And she said, oh, that's my best friend. And I said, he's showing me a kangaroo with boxing gloves. And she said, oh, yes, he boxed kangaroos in Australia. I said, okay. From now on, I know to share, whatever I'm receiving, even if I think they're going to think I'm crazy, it usually means something.
Fascinating. Can you share another story with us?
Sure. Let's see. I love the Aunt Jemima story. Let me bring that one up. There was a woman. As I said before, I can't always get messages. I say 85% of the time, maybe 90% of the time, people come through. But
Right.
There's a little time when nobody comes through, and when they come, I say, I'm sorry, there's no charge, of course, but when you feel guided to come back, you're more than welcome to come back. So this woman came from 2 hours away with her friends, and I didn't get anything. I was so embarrassed. This was when I first started doing messages.
Mm-hmm.
She decided about a year later to make an appointment, and I, put her down in my book, and the day before she came in, I was on the baseball field watching my son play baseball, and there was a woman named Alice trying to come through from the other side. And I said, oh, my God. What? I was asking everybody on the bleachers, do you know somebody named Alice? Do you know somebody named Alice? And everybody was saying, no, somebody that crossed. Okay, so the next day I go into my office, and the woman walked in, and I feel Alice again. And she said, I'm with her. I said, oh, this is going to be a good one. So I told her about the story about the day before, and I said, there's a woman named Alice that's been here since last night. She said, that's who I've been trying to connect with. That's my best friend. And then all of a sudden she shows me a picture of Aunt Jemima.
Oh,
and I
heavens.
said, oh, God, she waited a year for this. So I said, okay, I've learned. I just have to say what she's showing me. She's showing me a picture of Aunt Jemima. The woman, she said, that is without a doubt Alice. I said, well, could you tell me why? She said, well, we were in high school together, and there really was an Aunt Jemima. And she came to our high school in a helicopter and served us breakfast. And whenever the two of us got together, we'd say, remember Aunt Jemima? So I have learned since that, whatever I get, just repeat it. Just tell them, even if it's crazy. Well,
Yep.
It's not crazy. The crazier it is, the better, because then they know it's really the person is really coming through.
Have you ever had a child come across from the other side and leave a message? That must be heartbreaking.
Many times. It's very heartbreaking, and I think that's the hardest for. First of all, the children are okay, and they actually grow on the other side. And how
Really?
I have learned that is when they come through, they usually say their name and the age they would have been. And I've learned that, which was I never knew that before. And the parents are just, I can't even begin to talk about how deep the grief is, but the children are okay. And I try to relay that to the parent. When they come through, they are so good. They're trying to say, for the most part, that it was their time, and we're all trying to understand how could it be their time when they were 2 years old or something like that. But they truly are okay, and they want everyone to know that.
Have you discovered a reason or a rhyme why some people are taken or leave us sooner than others?
Yes. It's a very, we cannot understand it, but I will tell you, we always have a say in that, and nobody they'd say, how the heck could a mother who has 5 children decide to leave? Or I'm not saying that they decided to leave purposely it's unconscious, like maybe they made a pact before they came here that this was going to be their time, but it's something that is in the divine plan. Nothing is not in the divine plan. In other words, it's very hard to explain this to people, though, so I try not to.
Well, you see what? You're very lucky tonight talking to the audience we have, because they all know and understand
Yes.
and appreciate what you're talking about.
Yes.
You know,
exactly.
you're a lady who's touched so many hearts. You know, there's only one thing that we can do is thank you for being you.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm trying to help, in the best way that I can. And if we understand that it's all in a perfect divine plan, then we know they're okay.
Yeah.
We need to be okay too. And they really want us to be okay, and they don't want us to be crying. They want us to be happy and laughing.
But sometimes that's easier said than done, isn't it? Eh?
Oh, it's terrible. It's very difficult when you feel you think that's it. You'll never see them again, and I assure you, you will.
All right, Karen, please stand by. You and I have to take our final break. Karen Noé is my special guest this hour, X-Zone Nation. www.karennoe.com. That's KarenNoe.com. Karen and I return on the other side of this break.
In over 36 years in law enforcement, I've learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, extraterrestrials, and UFOs, how we gather that evidence of their existence, preserve that same evidence, and present it to a court of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Come with me on a journey that seeks to prove with undisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Join me, Larry Lawson, host of the Paranormal Stakeout, coming to the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Check out the broadcast schedule for Paranormal Stakeout with yours truly, Larry Lawson, at www.xzbn.net. For more information about me, my travels, and my team, check out our website at www.paranormalfbi.com or join us on Facebook at Florida Bureau of Paranormal.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Karen Noé is my special guest this hour, X-Zone Nation. Her website is www.karennoe.com. That's KarenNoé.com. First of all, Karen, thank you so much for joining us here in the X-Zone tonight. It's been a great pleasure speaking with you. Continued success on the number of hearts that you touch and the number of people that you help each and every day. What is the message that you would like to leave with the listening audience of the X-Zone Nation tonight?
The most important thing to do is to not wait till we cross over to see through the other person's eyes. Try to create peace in your life right here, right now. Don't always, in other words, a lot of us try to put the blame on other people, but we have something to do in that, in the interaction as well, to try to see the bigger picture now. Yeah.
You know, Karen, for a number of years I was a police officer, and I always treated the person on the other side of the badge as I would want to be treated if I were them.
Yes. That's the way to be treated. That's exactly the way to do it.
You know, it says so in the Bible, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's plain, it's simple, the message is right there. When trying to communicate with one's angels, what should we do? Meditate, go into trance, dream? Is there any one way that works better than another?
Intention. The most important thing is intend to do it and know that you can and believe it. A lot of times in my classes, when I teach people this, they come in saying, oh, I'll never be able to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I say, if you say that, you will never be able to do it. But I assure you, you have angels, and they're trying to connect with you as much as you want to connect with them. Trust trust and understand, quiet your thoughts, meditate, and know that they truly are there. And then when you do receive messages, don't think it's a coincidence. Just know it truly is a message and accept it.
Karen, you and I have to say so long for this evening. Once again, thanks very much. And let our listeners know how they can contact you and how they can find out more about you and buy your books.
Sure. As you said before, my website is www.KarenNoé.com. That's KarenNoe.com. And my latest book is called Through the Eyes of Another, A Medium's Guide to Creating Heaven on Earth by Encountering Your Life Review Now. And you can get that on my website or on Amazon.
All right, Karen, thanks very much. Look forward to the next time you join us here in the X Zone.
Same here. Angel blessings.
And to you too, my dear. X Zone Nation, Karen Noé has been my guest. Once again, her website is KarenNoé.com, KarenNoe.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X Zone continues. We're right here from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. We'll be back at 6.5 minutes past the hour. Don't go away.